was a good one. Hi, everybody. This is Laura with Stuff I Find Interesting, episode 72, wherein I talk about stuff I find interesting. It's not edited, it's not all specialized, it's not all AI. It's just a girl, a microphone, occasionally a cat or two. And I talk about stuff that I find interesting. So, I think the first thing that I would like to start off with is I have some really, really good news, guys. I mean, really, really good news. So, are you ready for this good news? So, wait, that's not it. Did I mess this all up? I sure did. Yes. So, May 27th, it was predicted that the world was going to end. There's this woman. She's talking to, it'll be in the links. You can look at it. She's doing, what's the term? When you get spiritual stuff and you write it down as it comes, you're like, la, 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 and you're like right in a trance. Anyway, this woman does that. She's been talking to this thing named Seven for like 7 years. And Seven said that the world was going to end on the 27th, which has come and gone. I'm here. You're here. We're still here. I think we're okay. What do you think? Let's kick this thing off, shall we? This is a museum. I think it's in Denmark. And there's a 3D section where you can look at their stuff, but like in 3D. And I thought this one was just so cool. It's like, oh, I hug you. That's my appreciation from me to you, just for being here. Look how interesting that is. And there's a whole thing, 3D models. So there's like a whole, you can look at all kinds of things. Let's pick something. How about the Garrison Church? That sounds like a fun one. It will take a minute to load. Architecture Museum of the Technical University of Munich. Oh, so it's a 3D model of the church. And yeah, we can zoom in, zoom out, rotate, make it dance. Very cool. Something else I found this week, which I've probably shared before because it's one of my favorite medieval art prints. And it's this, and it's a virginal-looking woman in white with a blue wrap draped around her, and she's holding a heart, and she's in a building that has holes in it. Looks like it's maybe falling down a little bit, and then beyond is this grand landscape with a castle. Now, I've looked up the meaning of this, and entire theses have been written about this specific one. But what it comes down to is it comes down to valuing love and those connections that we have with each other and nature and things that are truly important rather than materialistic things like grand castles. At least that's how I interpret it. It was a translation of a translation, so it could have gotten a little wonky in there, but I think I have it pretty sound. From the same site, as you know, I am fascinated by all things underground. I really think that there's so much stuff beneath our feet. I really do. So much more than what we know. Like sometimes I want to go like to the utility guys and be like, psst, tell me your secrets. Where's the secret passages? And I know I'm being a little silly, but there's a lot more under there. Like, look at this. These catacombs with all these creepy skeletons. Look at how cool this picture is. There's a priest standing there at the bottom of the stairs. So if there were to be an apocalypse and you needed to go somewhere, it looks like the catacombs of Palermo would be a fine place to lay your head. A little bit of information about Palermo. It'll be the catacombs. It'll be in the thing. But there's 8,000 bodies in there. There's 1,252 mummies. So interesting. The monks were put the dead bodies in the catacombs without any real, dead body put in the thing down in the catacombs. Due to the specific nature of those catacombs, the temperature, the humidity, the kind of salty, dry air, the some of the bodies have been preserved and have been mummified through natural means, and there are 1,252 of them, which are fully clothed and remarkably well preserved. The catacombs were built in the 1500s. They were initially built as a cemetery to bury the Capuchin friars. Eventually, the Capuchin community grew. They had to expand the cemetery. Anyway, they started putting the bodies down in the catacombs. And it's been commemorated in art by this painting called Love and Death, an 1881 painting by Italian artist Calcedonio Reina, a forbidden kiss in the catacombs. Ever since I was a kid, I've always wanted to find treasure. And now that I work in an elementary school, I do actually find treasure every day. But it's usually a little crock jewel, a tiny Superman toy, a car. But there's still actual treasures out there that are being found, refound. For example, a 2,000-year-old statue is found abandoned in a garbage bag in Greece. A marble statue of a woman believed to be more than 2,000 years old was found abandoned in a garage bag near the Greek city of Thessaloniki. A resident discovered the 31-inch headless statue. The man turned it over to local authorities. They dated it to the Hellenistic era, 320 and 30 BC. The statue has been sent to archaeologists for further investigation. Pretty cool. Also found, fairly recently, a couple months ago, a medieval ring found by some metal detectorists. So it was a rare medieval bishop's ring which was found by a retired firefighter in a Norfolk field. It's expected to fetch up to 18,000 euros at auction. The gold ring, which has a central hexagonal cabochon sapphire with 2 emeralds and 2 garnets, was uncovered by detectorist Mark Sell, 63, in King Road, Shipdham in 2019. Okay, so it was a little bit ago. I might have even talked about it before, because you know how I feel about finding treasure. That's really neat. That's really neat. But it's not just things like headless statues and rings found in fields. Sometimes entire buildings are found. And you might say, wait a minute, Laura. Entire buildings? And I'm here to say yes, entire buildings. For example, an area was being cleared just for whatever. I forget why. But somebody's shovel hit something. Conk, conk, conk. They found a temple found under layers of sand at great depth in India. You can see it starting to emerge from the sand. In these photos, we can see a tantalizing edge. Oh, they were mining sand. That's what they were doing. So they were mining sand. And the thickness of the sand layers is more than 10 meters. So more than 10 meters of sand on top of this structure. 10 meters, 2 feet. 32 feet. That's pretty deep. But according to this, it's only 200 years old. That's an awful lot of sand to be on top of a structure after only 200 years. And honestly, until this week specifically, I would have thought it impossible for a structure to be buried 32 feet within 200 years. But it is possible, and I'm going to show you how after we look at this a little bit more. So the Indians call it one of the Shiva temples. It's located near the Panar River. There are sand deposits in the floodplain of the river which are visible from the height of space photographs. It's a translation, so it's a little rough. So it's within a floodplain. And this guy is saying that something must have happened to suddenly flood it. But if we look at Glacier Berries Village from this week, that entire town that got buried by that glacier. I mean, literally the whole village just gone. Where's the actual video of it? Here it is. Oh. Yeah, they do this to you on purpose. I think a foot-long Subway's like, if you buy a foot-long, I think it's like $15 now or something. I don't know. It's a lot. Remember when you used to be able to get a $5 foot-long? That seems like so long ago. All right, any day now. Okay, here we go. So they've been monitoring that particular village since the 70s. They have equipment that's been set up because they knew sooner or later that glacier was going to go. They knew it was going to happen. Unfortunately, it happened this week, but people were able to be evacuated in time. So different mechanisms, sand, glacier mud, different things happening, but they, I think, in my mind, demonstrate the power of Mother Nature and how, as humans, we walk around kind of arrogant, like like we have like this power, and we really have none. Here's some more of this temple. This is the inside. Now, I did read some conflicting stuff that said maybe this was a part of a temple that was somewhere and then got carried by water. Other people have said it's an entire temple that was built there in situ and then got buried. This brickwork doesn't look very old to me. So I'm not really sure, but it doesn't look that old on the inside, honestly, unless there's deeper layers. So within 200 years, this thing was done. Here's some information about it from this guy's blog if you want to read more about the different ideas of exactly what happened. I mean, obviously it was covered during some sort of wet incident, but specifically what happened and the change of the course of the Penna River. It's important to discuss geologically so that they know where it's going to possibly go, in addition to where it went in the past. Fascinating stuff. In this picture, you can see the bottom of a kind of a courtyard, which leads me to believe that this thing was built there and then got covered up. It didn't get carried down the river. Although I'm sure there are things that got carried down the river if there was enough sand to bury this thing 32 feet in one shot. I'm surprised they haven't found any bodies. So, interesting for you to read about. Oh, there it is. The end of the world, girl. End of the world, girl. All right, moving on to our next part. Opera Cat. Full version. Are you familiar with Opera Cat? We love Opera Cat. Just wait for it. If you haven't seen it, it's worth it. Opera cat. Opera cat. Moving on from opera cat, I found an operatic performance about Atlantis, and I agree with this title that we need more metal songs about Atlantis. That'll be in the links also. I thought that was fun. I was like, wow, these people are really into it. We all need to be into something. My cat is currently wreaking havoc at the bottom of the stairs, getting into things she should not be getting into. I learned something new this week while I was running around maps, looking at maps, doing map stuff, and that is zomia. Zomia is a term referring to a large mountainous region in mainland Southeast Asia characterized by its diverse and often stateless populations. It is not a formally defined political or geographical entity, but rather a conceptual space created by scholars to highlight the history and social dynamics of a people who have historically avoided or resisted lowland state control. So this would go from like Vietnam to India, and it's an area where a lot of people live that are not really being governed, which is kind of cool to think about, right? So it means remote peoples or hill people. Let's see. It's just a fascinating way to think of government or lack thereof. But it's an entire area that, because of its location, it's not. Come on, cat. Does not lend itself to being easily governed. I guess would be the shortened the shortened version. Are you coming on my lap? She's confused because I have the keyboard and everything moved forward so that everything's a little closer. She usually sits here, but she can't sit here right now because the keyboard and me were in the way. There we go. Say hi to the camera. Say hi, Spares. So this is Princess Battlestar Spastica the First. And she has an attitude problem. But we love her anyway. Bye. Also, while I was looking at maps, the title of this is Public Toilet, and there's only 2 pictures. 2 pictures of a public toilet. Like, all right, okay. We can look around. So I said to myself, I must know where this public toilet is located. I don't even know how I got to it. I know it's Scotland. I was looking up stuff about Orkney, and this is Rackwick and Old Man of Hoy, a view that inspires poetry. There's the cottage. I think the public toilet is somewhere around there. But this is the whole kind of hike that you can do. It looks like a nice little jaunt through the woods, right? I found a cool site, cool page this week, or refound it, and that's the Meteorological Society, where you can put in all different countries and see what identified meteorites have been found there. So let's look in I don't know. How about Zimbabwe? Anything in Zimbabwe? Nope. Nothing in Zimbabwe. Okay, how about the Gobi Desert? Okay, let's do this. Yep, here we go. Gobi Desert. Let's find the biggest one, the mass, the one with the most mass. 230 grams, that's pretty big. 400 kilograms. Now that's really big. Okay, let's click on that and see what we get. It's a chondrite. Is there a picture of it? It is a... This individual specimen is partial to full black fusion crust, and it weighs... It's very confusing. It weighs less than 400 kilograms. Well... Okay. Cute child. What is that? I'm in some weird... See, this is how I end up in really weird places. We're going to back out of here, though. This one looks like... I don't want to change something. Let's look at some dream homes, or some homes that we can make fun of, or homes we can drool about while we listen to this song that I really like. This is an 80s home. Looks like we have a collection of nutcrackers, of all things. Can't remember the last time I saw a collection of nutcrackers. Gong. This place screams somebody who, like, got rich, like, suddenly became rich. And they were like, hey, just feels very concept-y, you know? Certainly more than I can afford, or will ever be able to afford. I do like the glass tiles a lot. Seems like they do too, because they went really crazy with it. They put them everywhere. Glass tiles everywhere. So it's kind of neat as you go through. It starts to get a little bit more interesting. I like the plants. I'm not real sure what's going on with that, or the collection of briar horses, but all right, let's move on to the next house. This is more my speed. This is just a magnificent Gilded Era mansion with just wood everywhere. All of the wood. It's beautiful. I didn't plan that music very well because it ended, and I'm only halfway into my second house. You can see this house is just completely different, obviously, than the other one. Different thing going on, but a little fussier. Like if I owned it, I wouldn't have quite so much stuff. The older I get, the less stuff I want. Except for clothes. You can never have too many clothes. Or makeup, or beauty products. Or shoes, or jewelry, or cats. Okay. Beautiful home. And the last home. Oh, this is a house that's only $149,000. Someone took these pictures with a potato. But if we look, we can see the bones of a really beautiful house, which has been horribly mangled. I don't even know where it is. I know it's not in New York. I think it's in Cleveland. No, Illinois. Alton, Illinois. I don't know anything about Alton, Illinois. But I'm willing to bet that it is a depressed area. Alton, Illinois economy. Let's see what it says. Yeah, it looks like there's really not a whole lot going on there. The average income of an Alton resident is $25,000 a year. So I don't know about Alton, Illinois, but here you get like a studio apartment for, I don't know, a nice one for like $2,000, right? The cat's back. So I don't think it's 2,000 in Alton, Illinois, but 2,000 times 12 months is 24,000, which leaves you with like 1,000 if that's what you're paying in rent. It's probably not that. It's probably more like 1,000, but that doesn't leave you with much money left over, does it? Oh, this cat. I don't know what her deal is. Okay. Bye. Love you. Oh, dear. So I don't know if you've heard or if you've been following, but there were some discoveries made at the pyramid. Scientists at war after bombshell study claims to have found giant hidden city beneath the pyramids in Egypt. Researchers have claimed to have made a groundbreaking discovery with this new kind of, it's not LiDAR, but it measures the vibrations between the molecules of the dirt, like, or whatever's there. And then in measuring the molecules of stuff that's in the ground, they can see cavities. But the guy that invented it is the guy that came up with this discovery, which makes it kind of whatever. But they're claiming that there are 5 structures that are connected by corridors. 4 of these pillars feed into 2 separate cube structures measuring 262 feet. And they're supposed to be 3,937 feet below the base of the pyramid. 8 pillars with spiral staircases. Other people are saying, hey, not so fast. Like the guy who invented this type of LiDAR radar thing is the guy that's making the discovery. Don't you think that's kind of weird? And furthermore, if we look at this survey that was done, we don't see chambers that we already know do exist. So if we can't see the chambers that do exist and it's showing chambers, then how do we know those chambers are really chambers if it's not showing the ones that we know to actually be there? This is what I think. I think that there's a lot more to Egypt and a lot more going on underground in Egypt. Not like this. I think that the archaeology in Egypt has been being gatekept since Egypt has basically been discovered. This cat, get out of there. She's being ridiculous. So anyway, it's been Zahi Hawass, I think is his name. He's the main archaeologist. Like when you see stuff about Egypt on TV, he's the guy with the hat, the older guy with the gray hair. And he's got, he's always joking. Well, I think that a lot of information has been kept. And by releasing ridiculous things like this, by saying there's 4,000 feet, it's just, then it makes everything else, it discredits everything else. So people are just like, wow, there's nothing down there because this whole thing is just ridiculous. That's what I think. That was very poorly put together. That was a very poorly constructed thought, but I think you know where I'm going with that. Mysterious corridor discovered in the Great Pyramid. This is true. It's a 9-meter long chamber. It was first discovered in 2016, but this is the first time it's been seen. It's 2.1 meters wide. Muography is a specialist procedure that doesn't disturb the 4,500-year-old pyramid structure. Muons are subatomic particles that can't pass through stone. A team from a project called Scan Pyramids fired the particles into the pyramid where specialist cameras could analyze their movement safely from the outside. This found there was a void or space that they had never known existed before and can't be accessed by a person from the outside. Once they had done more tests to make sure it was safe, they sent in a tiny camera called an endoscope through a small gap in the stone near the main entrance. The camera was just 6 millimeters wide, but it was enough to confirm the existence of the chamber. They said the cavern might have been created to balance out the pyramid's weight around the main entrance, or it might be part of another as yet undiscovered chamber. So discoveries are still being made, but not everything you hear is going to be true. Now, I did that whole thing on the Sphinx. I did like 3 episodes on the Sphinx. Well, we're back at the Sphinx, baby. Like, we're back. This guy, he has found all kinds, I don't know how this guy got the access he did, but this will be in the links for you to marvel over. But he basically runs around all kinds of areas that are mostly off limits, to other people. And you can see where there are shafts that are deliberately holed up with garbage. Like, look, you can see that one. You can see that there are just things that we've not been told about. And by that is that we've said, no, the Sphinx doesn't really have any chambers. There's just the thing between the paws. But I don't think that's true. I think there are chambers, whether they're real or whether they're just for the purposes of construction, or maybe for ventilation or water control. Who knows? I just think there's way more going on with these things. Now, in addition to the Sphinx, which I'm fascinated with, we've talked about previous episodes about the golden hats of Bronze Age Europe and what they mean and what they are. And if I could just bring your attention back, these are the 4. These ads make me mental. Do you know that? Here we go. Here they are. So the priest would wear these gold hats on their head. I imagine they were probably fairly heavy. They also had, here's a gold cowl that would have been worn with the gold hat. This is the culture associated with one of the gold hats. This is a burial tomb. I don't know if this is the one where the sun hits the back of it at a certain time, but I think that's fairly common. But they're thinking that these golden hats are tied to a solar cult, a cult that worshipped the sun. And the reason why they think that is, let me find it. There it is. And I brought this up previously, but here we can see again how the hats are actually calendars, solar calendars. And by knowing which zone they're in and where they which zone and then which solar month it looks like, synod month, I don't know. These people were clearly smarter than me. But you might say, why would people worship the sun? Well, maybe the sun is conscious. Rupert Sheldrake, our old pal, the morphic resonance guy, wrote this fascinating paper about, is the sun conscious? Is the sun conscious? Obviously not from the point of view of mechanistic materialism or physicalism. The universe is a mechanical system. Nature is non-conscious. Conscious minds are phenomena produced by physical activity in brains, or they are identical with the physical activities of brains, just as water and H2O are identical but go under different names, or they are illusions produced by brains, or they are nothing more than folk belief as yet unenlightened by objective neuroscience. Therefore, anyone who supposes that the sun is conscious is making a childish error, projecting anthropomorphic illusions onto inanimate nature. The fact that children often draw the sun with a smiley face shows that this idea is literally childish. The very question is ridiculous. But then he kind of goes back and says, well, wait a minute, maybe it's not so ridiculous. And there's a discussion of the various cultures that did worship the sun. The sun cult in Bronze Age Europe with the hats. They obviously weren't the only ones. A lot of people did. Peoples. So this article, if you're into this kind of thing, it goes into cosmology and brains and language, and it goes into the different organized systems that create humanity, including the sun. These organized systems are all nested hierarchies. At each level, the whole level includes the parts. The parts are literally within the wholes. At each level, the whole is more than the sum of the parts, with properties that cannot be predicted from the study of parts in isolation. Arthur Koestler proposed the term Holon for such wholes made up of parts that are themselves wholes. Each Holon, like a holograph, has a dual tendency to preserve and assert its individuality as a quasi-autonomous whole and to function as an integrated part of an existing or evolving larger whole. Koestler saw consciousness as a manifestation of the integrative tendency inherent in all Holons. And then it goes on, and then brings it back to the sun. And he ends it by saying, I think in closing, the possibility that the sun is conscious expands the scope of our thinking. We can move beyond familiar debates about the hard problem, whose primary concern is to explain the emergence of human minds from smaller and less complex systems, and place this discussion within a literally panpsychist context, where pan means all, and all includes stars, solar systems, galaxies, the cosmic web, and ultimately the universe as a whole. I like Rupert Sheldrake. I wouldn't mind having a juice or a beverage or a nice meal with him. So we're going to finish off all of this by getting a little biblical. And this was inspired by me coming along and finding a Merkaba. Let's make sure we can say it right. Merkaba. Okay, Merkaba. Merkaba. So the Merkaba is the energy field that surrounds all of us. So a nice little segue from Rupert Sheldrake morphic into the Merkaba, which he is, I think he's done a lecture about that. What is the meaning of the Merkaba? It is a three-dimensional star tetrahedron, two interlocking tetrahedrons spinning in opposite directions. It represents the union of body, mind, and spirit, and is considered a powerful tool in sacred geometry. The term Merkaba is of Hebrew origin, with its roots firmly embedded in the biblical texts. It represents a vehicle for light and energy capable of facilitating travel through different dimensions and enhancing personal potential. Now, that last part is like what someone who's really hippy-dippy might think. And on occasion, I might even think that. But it is believed to be part of sacred geometry, and that it can actually become a tool for achieving altered states, for going into altered dimensions. So if we go into Reddit, the word Merkaba is made up of three words: Mer meaning light, Ka meaning spirit, and Ba, which means the body. When these three words are put together, they mean the union of the spirit in one's body surrounded by the light. This guy says, get it to spin, you can go anywhere you wish. OP says, I don't understand. Merkaba is the energy field that surrounds each of us. When you are able to access this energy field, you can go anywhere you wish, across the planet, off planet. There's a pretty good book called The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life by Drunvalo Melchizedek, if you wish to learn more. Or you could jump right into a Merkaba meditation on YouTube or such and just go for it. If you achieve success, you will go out of body, which can feel alarming, so only strive for it if you're mentally prepared to separate from your physical body. He'll be back, I promise, with treats. Yes. Pop-Pop is shopping, and he is undoubtedly buying cat treats right now. And she really wants them, and she wants them right now. But I don't have them because he's not back yet. So This person says, I have a hypothesis about its functions and connection to the heart. It's a work in progress. The heart is what produces the body's electromagnetic field. In science, we know frequency has effect upon matter. Think about it like a radio frequency. You shift the HZ and you switch the channel. And it goes on and on. This is a nice little discussion. I'm going to include this in my bookmarks so that you can read it. Sometimes I like reading the Reddit discussions because it can help break things down a little bit more in a way that might be a little bit more understandable. Sometimes when I'm looking stuff up, I like to take the word and add conspiracy at the end of it just to see what I get. Like, let's say I'm looking up a city, the city of Sassi. That's the cave city in Italy. I type on the Sassi conspiracy. I'll get something that's interesting. It might not have anything to do with really, what I'm looking for at the time, but it'll certainly take me someplace cool. So the Merkaba conspiracy is not a widely recognized or established theory, but rather a term used within esoteric and New Age circles to describe a variety of ideas related to the Merkaba, a geometric shape often associated with spiritual journeys and energy fields. Some of these ideas involve linking the Merkaba to concepts like ancient astronaut theories, UFOs, and the potential for personal transformation through meditation and visualization. It's a geometric shape often visualized as a double rotating light field that is associated with spiritual travel and ascension. It is often linked to the biblical vision of Ezekiel's chariot, where he saw a divine chariot with 4 cherubim. Some believe the Merkaba can be activated through specific meditation techniques, blah, 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 blah. So, there you have it. If we type in conspiracy, we have, so there was a school of mysticism a long time ago, like 100 years before Christ. And it was a early Jewish mysticism, a form of early Jewish mysticism. And here we have Ezekiel's chariot. What else we got in here? I don't know why I saved this link. Sometimes Wikipedia is really useful, and sometimes it's not so useful, but it's definitely more useful than, like when I was a kid, if I wanted to look something up, you had to go to the library, you had to pull the book off the shelf, well, you had to find the book first, or you had to find the encyclopedia, and you had to open it to where you're going, and then you had to usually look up into another encyclopedia to get more information, because you didn't have enough information in the one. It was a lot of work. So in my mind, the Merkaba, with the different levels and layers, makes me think of this, the ordering of paradise, which of course, there we go. A lot of spiritual diagrams will include some sort of chart like this with the understanding that you have the earth, and then you have animals, and then you have people, and then you have the spiritual world of people, and then there's stuff above that. And that if you can get high enough spiritually, you can ascend and go into those other realms. I find it interesting that this one is kind of like a griffin looking thing. There's probably something meaningful to that. Ezekiel's vision of God in the chariot. How are we to understand Ezekiel's bizarre vision of the chariot in its historical context? What makes it theologically so dangerous in the eyes of the rabbis? This is some biblical discussion about Ezekiel and the approach of the chariot and the creatures that he saw and the wheels. And it really goes into it. So did Ezekiel really see a flying chariot? There's lots of different theories. Maybe he saw a UFO. Maybe he ate some bread that was loaded with ergot, and he was tripping balls. Maybe he fell and hit his head real hard. Maybe he was dreaming. But what I find really interesting is wait a minute. This is not, there we go. Rusted satellite. If we go to top, all time. Well, there we go. Some of these videos that are coming out of different places of UFOs are looking kind of rotaty, spinny. So, like, what is that? I mean, that's not a chariot. That's probably a bunch of balloons, but it's very strange, no? Like, what is that? And then it kind of morphs a little. Did Ezekiel see something like this? This is just a UFO subreddit, but it's for a specific type of UFO sighting. Ones that are known as like a jellyfish sighting. Most of them probably balloons or some other detritus that has gotten up in the atmosphere, but some of them I don't know that they can be explained. Other theories regarding these things include plasma that is alive, and by alive not necessarily in the conscious sense, like the plasma's not sitting around with other plasmas having conversations and hanging out, but they're conscious enough to move in an intelligent manner and do things that are deliberate. Here we have some more shape-shifting things. Like what? And there's a lot of them. I could keep going. This is some hippy-dippy stuff about Merkaba, and there's I think there's a meditation in here. Here it is. So if you want to, you can go in and you can look at the different meditation. So this is spherical breathing using 18 breaths. So you're inhaling, you're opening your heart, you're feeling love. If you cannot do this, you must open it up to as much love as you can. Muy poquito. So it looks like you're breathing kind of in a yoga way, but it's not, you're not breathing and holding. It's continuous breath, so you're you're circular breathing. You're not stopping at the top or the bottom of the breath. You're keeping it going. If you want something to do, you feel like, wow, I need something to do with my time right now. I'm incredibly bored. I have the best thing ever for you. You're gonna love this as soon as it comes up. This is a glass container of pitch, which is the stuff like they put on roads, and it's the pitch drop experiment. And every time one of these drops, they pull it off and they put it in the speaker. It's in a museum, but only 8 of them have dropped. It's the longest running viscosity experiment. 1927, Professor Parnell heated a sample of pitch and poured it into a glass funnel with a sealed stem. He allowed the pitch to cool and settle for 3 years, and then in 1930 he cut the funnel stem. Since then, the pitch has slowly dripped out of the funnel, so slowly that it took 8 years for the first drop to fall, and more than 40 years for another 5 to follow. Now, 87 years after the funnel was cut, only 9 drops have fallen. The last drop fell in April 2014, and we expect the next one to fall sometime in the 2020. So it's going to happen soon, guys. So you can watch it live. Very exciting. A little bit of music for you guys. Some stuff that I've been listening to. This is my favorite guitarist. It will be in the links. This is a song I discovered. I'm not going to play any more of it because of copyright reasons, but it's a cool. I like it. I like it a lot. I think. Why did I have this? I think this is something that I was looking at, but not necessarily. I don't know what I was doing. What was I doing? Oh, I know what I was doing. So all the kids in school are doing this dance. So I'm learning it so that I can wow everybody with my amazing ability to dance. But by the time I learn it, they're already going to be on a new dance. So, but I figure it's a good thing. It's a good thing to do. Um, hmm. This is a gallery of medieval art that I was looking at. Let me put on some music and I'll bring you guys out. This song only has 855 views, and it's amazing. So it's been a week. It's been kind of a shitty week, honestly. I'm not expecting this week to be much better. There are some challenges in my life right now. Half of them self-created. Nothing life-changing, though. Pretty stable considering where I've come from. I've come a long way, and I'm sure you guys have too, right? I have a cat. So, so you might be saying to yourself, Laura, is it going to be another month or two before you do another one of these? And you know what? It might be. It might be. But hopefully you found this interesting. And I'll see you when I see you.